So it's been a couple days. So I'm guessing the 5-minute epoxy is dry by now. So I'll take out the clamps and then start disassembling my table saw. Alright, I'm going to be taking the wing off of my table saw now. This is going to be where the new router table is going to go. Not nearly as heavy as I thought it would be. Okay. Now, because the back bar for the rib fence is not spaced at all from the back of the table saw, so I had to cut a little notch out of one side in order to fit around the nut for the back support. I drilled out the holes for the bolts, and then I used a hole saw which was as wide as the bolts were long, so that I set the bolts into the holes and then pushed them through. Now I did have to chisel out a little bit just to make it flat here, and then just to give it a little bit more depth for the head of the bolt. I'm not going to tighten down the bolts yet. I'm going to need to level it, and once I get the insert set up properly and the hole cut for the router, I'm going to need to come back and cut a slot for a miter gauge in the tabletop. So this is going to be coming off in a little bit. So I went to the hardware store and I picked up a couple of longer screws for my router, and I have mounted it in the plate. So it fits well. The largest bit that I currently have fits through there just fine. So it looks like that's the size I'm going to stick with. Now I originally planned on having the miter slot go through the plate as well, but when I pulled out my miter gauge, this is for the table saw, turns out if I put it where I wanted it, it would have run right into the router bit. So I had to pull it back quite a ways so that it's actually in this piece here. So it turns out I could have cut this even before I assembled the router table, which would have been a lot easier. Now to drill and screw through the bottom to secure everything. And then I will tighten the bolts. And then on to part 3, which is building the fence. I noticed as I was reaching in there and reaching around that the edges were pretty sharp, so I'm just breaking all the edges so I don't cut myself later. On the one side, I had to shim up just a little bit. I used this aluminum foil tape that's used for sealing air conditioning ducts. It's very thin and it's quite durable, and it should never come off. So just needed a couple layers just to get it perfect. Okay, I admit it. I totally forgot the plan for a fence for the router table. So the wood that I had planned on using for a new outfeed table for my table saw, I'm going to have to cut it up to use for a fence. So I don't have anything planned, so instead of delaying the publishing of the first 2 parts of the router table, I'm going to publish them first, and then when I can get a plan drawn up, pieces cut, and everything's done, I'll